G'day, Tom German, sales representative at Apex Results Realty located in Burlington, Ontario. I operate from Grimsby through to West Mississauga. I'm going to be talking for the next little bit about insurance issues. So, you want to purchase a property. You're a buyer. You're excited. You're happy. You're thinking this is amazing. Now, okay, sellers, this is also going to affect you as well. So, Mr. Buyer, you go out, you look for a while, you find a property, you say, awesome, I'm going to buy it. You know, finances lined up. You have to have a home inspection because the realtor talked about it. You don't really know why. Possibly. I know people who said, why bother? Just buy it, live in it. And the home inspector goes through and says, oh, hey, there's some stuff I'm found here. Let's talk about some of the insurance issues you may find. What about knob and tube? Knob and tube, years ago when electricity first came out and it started becoming more and more common in housing, in residential housing, the wiring through the house was knob and tube. It was, and I do need to get an example to see if I can actually show you this, but knob and tube is the original electrical wiring. It did run through the walls, and if you go into the basement of a very old house built before the war or just after, you will definitely see it. Now, it is going to be a black, round, it looks like it's covered in some sort of fabric, and it looks old. And normally when you take a look in a basement, if the basement's unfinished and it's still there, you're going to notice that it's either attached to or drilled through the joists. Now, today, in Ontario, if you want to purchase a property and you call the insurance company that's insuring your property, because of course the banks want you to have insurance on the property in case something happens, so their investment is covered, you'll discover the insurance company is going to be very unhappy with that property. Knob and tube is not a good thing. It is the first, the oldest, and in most cases definitely brittle, which can lead to problems. Insurance companies do not like problems. Now, is it because there was a basic fault with the wiring itself? No. Is it because of the age of the wiring? To a degree. The bigger problem has been that that wiring was originally set up for post-war level use of power. People in the basement used to use all those wires going back and forth to hang things on. So you'd be sitting there, you look up and you'll see, and I've been in the basements, old skis, laundry lines are set up on them, and anything else people can put up there between the joists to keep out of the way. Now, over time, this will damage the wiring there. Now, I'm not talking about over a day or two, but over years, this will have an impact. So, given how old they are now, more and more insurance companies won't have anything to do with it. You can still find one or two. So if you're in a century home and you must have the knob and tube wiring, the original knob and tube wiring, because it's part of the ambiance, the look, the feel of the property, and it makes it still a century home, you can find insurance companies. You will be paying a very large premium. You'll be having that inspected by an electrician, and they better know who that electrician is. You're not going to have it inspected by Bob down at the corner. More than likely, I'm saying more than likely, it's going to be a master electrician that the insurance company uses for activities like this, because they need to insure the property and do not want it burning down. So normally, if you're purchasing your first home or your second home, you walk in and you have an issue with it, or rather the insurance company and therefore the bank have an issue with knob and tube, they will likely give you a rider. So that means you have 30 to 60 days after taking possession where you will have a home inspection, an electrical inspection, and you will prove to them that you have removed all the knob and tube wiring and that there is no live knob and tube wiring left in the house. This means more than likely rewiring at least a portion of the property. Now, if you're buying a century home and you go in and you can see evidence of past knob and tube, it's always difficult to tell if there is any knob and tube wiring still hooked up. I've been in the situation myself I've had a listing, there's no knob and tube wiring left connected anywhere in the house, and then there ended up being a fair bit. Until it's actually removed from the walls and it's been inspected and that's written down, you don't know. Especially over the 60s, 70s, and 80s, where people may have done some of their own renovation work and they simply trimmed off stuff that no longer was functional, they were concerned about, or whatever they did renovation to, and they left the old wiring in the walls alone because it would be costing a lot of money to rip it all out, and they didn't have the time, money, or energy to do that. So be aware. If you come across an older property, beautiful property, built in the 20s, built in the 30s, gunwood inlay, gorgeous fireplaces, pocket doors, glazed, the glazing on the glass on those pocket doors may be gorgeous, but you may have knob and tube wiring. If you do, you are looking at a rewire. The cheapest, well, it depends on the amount of work the electrician has to do. I believe it cost $10,000 for my client to have all the knob and tube removed and bring the building back up to a modern code, and it was guaranteed there was nothing left in there. Everything was rewired. So it can be expensive. However, if you want that look, that feel, it may be worth it. But if you go in and that property is the same price as everything else, and you find out there is knob and tube, and the insurance company says no, you need to be aware of that in advance. Instead of purchasing a property which you truly love and discovering you have to spend $15,000 completely rewiring a house that you thought was current up to date. You cannot simply go buy a breaker box or the fuse panel and take a look at the wires there, because sometimes that can be misleading. Not necessarily deliberately so, but it can be. Anyway, that's knob and tube. There's a lot of other insurance issues out there you need to be aware of as a buyer. And sellers, if you have some of this in your house, you need to be aware of it as well. There's no real stigma attached to it. It's not as if it will, oh my gosh, mean no one can purchase your property, but it may be an issue you should address before selling. Anyway, I hope this has helped you out. You take care, have yourselves a great day, and remember, no matter what else, no matter what's going on or what you're hearing, stay positive.